you should retreat. Are you?
Yeah.
What's a retreat? Who goes on retreat? How do you feel about retreat? To be covered.
Retreat is intentionally setting aside time and space for the Lord.
Yes. Yeah. And we see that Jesus, in the midst of the busyness of his life, intentionally took time to be with the Father. So we see this in Jesus' own example of his life, that it is something that we need to do to model him. That we're never too busy to spend that time with Jesus, to spend that time with God, very intentionally.
Right. We see that Jesus is carrying out his ministry. He's teaching the gospel. He's sharing the message with the people, performing miracles, spending time with his disciples, forming them, very intentionally forming them, even challenging them at times. But then you find that he goes off into, the placeau side or the mountain to pray, or he's driven by the Spirit at the beginning of his ministry into the desert, where he spends the time in fasting, but also a time of prayer, and going off to the mountain too, just like that place. So something that I was thinking about was just how retreat affords us the chance to be sort of in a different setting. If we kind of consider, it's easy for us in Nebraska to kind of consider the plains, Iowa too.
Yeah.
The plains as sort of like this place that's just, it's normal, it's regular, allows us to carry out the regular routine of life. And we are caught into that sort of rhythm and that stable structure of reality. And we're carrying out our life, and that's well and good. But to change the context or to change the setting can become beneficial if it's for the sake of giving that to the Lord. It can also be a place for us to find needed rest and restoration and renewal for why we are carrying out our life back on the plains and back on like the regular track.
What are the benefits to retreat? Because I think so often we can get caught up in the busyness of life, the busyness of summer. We want to make the most of our summer. We want to vacation. We want to do X, Y, and Z, all of these things. That why take time to go on retreat? And then when we start the school year, it's a whole different look at a busyness of life, at a busy schedule. We're back into school. We're back into sports. We have meetings. We have all of this stuff. So I think that it can be tempting to ask, do I have time to make a retreat, to take a retreat? But yes, you do. And it's essential and it's necessary to our spiritual life. This summer, when we went on retreat, our retreat master at the very beginning, he said, we do not do a retreat or like go on retreat, but that we make retreat and you allow Jesus to work in your life. So that why spiritually we need to take time to focus on him alone, to allow him to speak to us, to hear the voice of the Good Shepherd calling us by name, to go and to be with our Lord. But also practically, retreat is just like a time of refreshment and rejuvenation, spiritually, but also physically and mentally and emotionally, I feel like. You get like, when you go on retreat, you can get a little bit of extra sleep, you can get some extra exercise, you get some time in quiet, which is nice. And at the end, you feel ready to go out on the mission that Jesus has prepared for you. And you more fully know what that is because you've spent that time in that intimate dialogue with him for a couple of days.
What I love is that every time that we go on retreat, there's just something that's unexpected that comes along the way. There's something rich and new that we weren't expecting. I think every time I try to make expectations for retreat, it never ends up going anywhere. Like not even close, not even like the same. I'm like driving to a different ballpark. I am in a different place. Like rerouting. Like it's like okay, somewhere else. But no, there's just something really rich about the retreat experience, even over the course of time. Like I've been on retreat every year for the last 9 years, and there's always something new that Jesus is doing that is just kind of so far surpassing, and in a way that is something that instills within me that desire for heaven, where everything will be, in a sense, beyond my understanding and beyond what I can comprehend, beyond what I can imagine, beyond what I expect. When you set aside time for God, like he will never be outdone in generosity. Yeah. In the regular plane of life, when we're in our regular responsibilities and duties, we do set aside time for God in prayer, hopefully every day. Going on retreat allows us to do the same thing for a greater amount of time without being encumbered by any sort of deadline or any sort of responsibility outside of just simply being present to God. You're just there. You're not going anywhere. You're just here, and you're giving that to the Lord. And in the same way, from that added physical rest and rejuvenation comes reciprocally all of this greater space in my own heart of tranquility, of silence, of rest, to really begin to focus on the heart of Jesus, to see what it is that he wants to share with us, and to allow him to be the one to initiate, and to realize that he is the one that initiates prayer. So there's just beautiful benefits to come from taking a retreat, both on the physical side and the spiritual side, right? The spiritual all the more by simply giving us a space where physically we are well rested and ready and attentive, and things are just in a good space for that encounter with Jesus to happen. Thanks for joining for Colin Braille this time around, and we'll see you guys again soon.
Yeah.